Okay, this is Guy Daniels with lesson 3 of basic open chords for beginners and intermediate guitar players. It's based on the caged system of chords. If you're not familiar with that, go to lesson 1. And really, you should just go to lesson 1 if this is the first time you're seeing this series, and just work your way on up to this part. Okay, but for those of you that have already gone through lesson 1 and lesson 2, let's continue. Okay, so now we're in the key of B, and we're going to explore open chords in that key. Okay, so for those of you that don't already know, I'll break the bad news to you. There is no open B major chord on the guitar. It does not exist in standard tuning.
You gotta be kidding me.
But we do have a nice B suspended. It's very dreamy due to the fact that we have a double B. I'll explain.
Hope your guitars are tuned up because we're ready to go. Here we are.
As is the rule in these lessons, pick first, strum after. So here we go. The notes are B, F sharp, B, another B, and E. Very nice chord, especially with a little, maybe on the treble pickup with some volume. So we have a double B. That's a cool thing you can do on guitar. You can double up certain notes depending. Did I just say? Depending on where the chord is. So this happens to be one of those sweet spots where we have a double B. And in the context of this chord, it really sounds nice. It's a dreamy kind of futuristic, meditative type chord, so that double B serves it well. All right. Now for those of you that are explorers, you might notice this is essentially a power chord. So if you're curious, why don't you move it up? I've done this and I know what the results are, but for the curious, you can take a detour from this lesson, take that shape and move it up, okay? And see if you like what you hear. And just move up, I would say a full octave. Go all the way up, if you have an electric, go up to 14th position, if you can squeeze up there. And I don't want to give it away, but you're gonna like most of what you hear. That's why I'm suggesting that you do it. Okay, anyway, all right, now let's go to the next available B open chord, which is B7. I used to not like this chord, but I can play it better with this hand. Let's go over those notes. B, D sharp, A, B, and F sharp. Okay, and for you number nerds, that's 1, 3, flat 7, 8, 12. I gotcha, huh? You thought I was going to say 5, right? Those are the literal scale degrees. 1, 3, flat 7, 8, 12.
So what's the point in all of this?
Okay, the advantage of that is you know that this chord is a 12. It is the range of an octave and a fifth. If I were simply to say 1, 3, flat 7, 1, 5, it's a little misleading.
If the F sharp was on the 4th fret D string, the chord would sound considerably different. So a 5th and a 12th are not the same.
So as you can see, I'm big on literal scale degrees because they give you an idea of the range of the chord. Anyway, enough nerdery. The reason I like this chord is it's kind of an exercise in itself. Any 4-fingered chord I see as an exercise as well as a musical nugget. Okay, so the most at-risk note is the open B. So let's make sure, I would even pick that even before you picked everybody else to make sure it's clear. All right, now let's move on. There are a couple of open B minors. I'm going to show you one. This is the easiest one. Nice volume swell chord. Okay. Open D. So this is technically B minor over 3. So we have D, B, D, and F sharp. nice chord there. What can you do with it? You can do a few things. So you can reach up to the 5th fret for your intermediate guys. You can reach up to the 5th fret on the high E. And you can do the same thing on the B. Those are some nice extensions. Now there's another B minor for your intermediate players. Here it is. It's a 4-note chord. What you're doing is you're replacing the other B minor shape with the next finger up. So instead of a 3-2-1 shape that we just did, it's a 4-3-2, and then you take your free first finger and put them on the A string 2nd fret, and you get this. Okay? A little sparse sounding, but it's a cool chord. Okay, now we go to B minor 7. So the notes are B, D, A, B, and F sharp. There's another B minor 7. It's one of my favorites. Let's keep this shape here. Add the pinky to the B string 3rd fret, and you get this really cool chord. It makes for a great funk chord because you can jam on the root note. Basically, you got bass.
Basically, you got bass. That's funny.
Basically, you got bass and chord going on, so you can go. Alright, so that covers it for the B chords. Let's move on to C. So obviously we have our great open C major chord. Now you can use the open low E. It'll give you a C over 3, which is great if you have a voice leading going like, and you want to have that chord. That's kind of like a gospel voice leading. You have this C, and then you could have an F, and then you could have the C over G, which is a C over 5, to a G7. Okay, and so that's where those chords come into play, pun intended. Really, it's all about the voice leading. A lot of things you can do with this chord. Let's look at the fingering. Your pinky is free to roam. You have tons. You can go to the high E. You can go to the B. You can go to the G and do a 7th move, flat 7th move. You can obviously go to the D string and do a suspended move. And the D string is very busy. You can do a hammer on the open D. Okay, a lot of stuff you can do. Now there is an open C suspended. I didn't do a diagram, but I'll just show you. I can't resist. Okay, so you basically have your 3rd finger. The spelling is C, F, G, C, F. Okay, that's a C suspended 4. You're barring on the 1st fret with your 1st finger. Keep your 3rd finger down, you can transition easily into a C chord. And that's definitely a great exercise, because if you can do those two, if you can alternate between those two, you have a lot of cool riffs that you can use. Okay, alright, so the next C chord we have is C with the pinky. I think I don't need to explain that would be good having. Okay, the next one is C grande. What you're basically doing is taking the weight of the chord and moving it lower. So beefed up, you have that fifth in the bass, which not only it adds weight to it, but the fifth in the bass reinforces the open G string. Whereas this chord here, normal C only had 1/5. This chord now has 2. Okay. Please remember the classic Yes song that was based on this chord shape. It's called Starship Trooper. Those of you who have seen me perform know I do an extended solo over this great section called Worm. And I'll link to I'll provide a link to one of my live improvs over this section. But it starts here. Okay, so it's essentially a G chord now. One of the most awesome chord progressions in classic rock. I mean, you take one shape and it's just so
Awesome.
Alright, so now we're getting to the hardest chord in the group. C minor. Open C minor. Alright? Are you ready for it? You might want to get a drink of water. You might want to do about 20 push-ups. You're going to need it.
Intermediate folks, let's do it. Beginners, have no shame if you bow out at this point and meet me at the next lesson for the D group of chords, which will conclude this lesson series.
Or if you just want to hang around and have something to aspire to, check out Open C minor. Here it is. So the way I do it, I like to start with the weaker fingers. I grab the third and the pinky first, and then the hardest one for me is the second finger on the B string, first fret.
Let's be honest, you need a hunting license for this chord.
So I put him down last. That is the one I have most trouble with. Whoa, and as you can see, I'm still having trouble.
And as the artist labors continually, he realizes that he too is a student, and that he too must suffer the necessary sufferances.
I will wrestle this open C minor to submission. Here it is, folks. C, E flat, G, C, and G. And a cool move with this chord, as I showed in lesson 1, I believe, just to make it worth it. So you take your third finger off, and you get a nice A minor 7 flat 5. Then you can move to, that's a F minor over 3, or you could do a nice A flat major 7, and then to a G sus, to a G7, and then you got yourself a nice progression. Kind of makes that painful open C minor worthwhile. Okay, folks, that is it for me for this lesson. I'll see you for our wrap up on basic open chords for beginners and intermediate. We're going to do the D group of open chords. Happy chording.